doesn't exist, because you would very seldom find someone who say, well, I have faith that God doesn't exist. That in their mind, that's an oxymoron. They're certain God doesn't exist. That's why they're saying God doesn't exist. But if they have faith that God doesn't exist, again, using that term loosely, but still have some questions, then they have a measure of doubt. Even from the angle of no faith, they have an angle of doubt. Okay, you gotta have faith, or when those questions come up. Lee Strobel, an apologist, he says this. He says there's three kinds of people in the church: those who are struggling with doubt right now, those who have no doubts but will struggle with them in the future, and those who have no doubts and will have no doubts because they are basically brain dead. I mean, just the reality that everyone wrestles with these questions. And in our world that we're living in today, in our culture, in Western European culture, and America, and when I say Western European, I'm talking about Canada, I'm talking about New Zealand, Australia, the countries of the UK, as well as America and so on. When we're talking about all those, doubt has often become the preferred mode of thinking. It's become the preferred mode of thinking. It never used to be, but it has become that. And there's forces, doubt is often favored over faith, and there's forces at work in, I'll just go down a list here, in high school, in colleges, in universities, in workplaces, in extended families. There are forces at work to try and poke holes at people's faith. It's not uncommon that a kid leaves a high school, whether it's, let's say our high school, South Whitby High School, goes to, or some high school across the country, and they go off to college, and in one of their very first classes, you got to take Sociology 101, or you got to take, some sort of a liberal arts class, or it might even be in a science class, whatever it happens to be, and someone immediately wants to start poking at someone's faith to try and raise people's doubts. And so that's just the culture we're living in. And oftentimes, people see the doubter as the thinker and the person of faith as the person who's not a thinker. That's often how it's looked at. So if you have doubt, it's because you're a thinker. I mean, if you don't have doubts, it's because you're not a thinker. It's because you're naive. You just take things for granted. You're less intelligent. You're unlearned. You're illogical. You're lazy. Whatever it happens to be. I mean, I could throw all kinds of adjectives in there. But the idea being that if you have doubt or even don't believe, it's because you're more intelligent than other people. And that's how our world oftentimes portrays it. So people use terms like this. People say, people will talk about blind faith. Like a blind leap of faith. You ever heard someone say, it's just a blind leap of faith. Well, nobody ever talks about a blind leap of doubt. But yet a blind leap of doubt, if there's a blind leap of faith, there is a blind leap of doubt. Where you just jump into it. See, people don't see it as a blind doubt, or that doubt could be blind. It doesn't register with them because in their minds, they doubt because they see clearly in their minds. And we'll talk more about this in a minute. People also use the term honest doubt. They'll say, well, he's got an honest doubt about that. Well, do you ever have someone say, well, he has honest faith? No, because in our world, people see faith in some senses as dishonest. That it's because someone's not thinking it through. Someone hasn't, wrestled with all of the realities. And so therefore, in a sense, faith is dishonest. And so, again, all of that, it's that faith is ridiculous. And, reasons for doubt are rational. That's how people look at it. Reasons for doubt are rational, but reasons for faith are irrational. If I gave you reasons for faith, people in our world would look at it and go, well, that's irrational. Okay, I mean, that's how it gets played out, and it gets poked at it, pulled out, and so on. And to many, the faith is the idea of faith is it's nonsense. But here's the truth: doubt can be blind. Okay, doubt can be blind. People who just go, I don't believe, I'm not going to, whatever. It can be just as blind as people having quote unquote blind faith, is the term that's used. And doubt can be dishonest. Doubt can be dishonest. And it's not like you have honest honest doubt and dishonest faith. No, doubt can be dishonest too. And doubt can be irrational, illogical, and naive. Some doubt seeks answers. And some people that have doubts and some doubts that arise seek answers, but some doubt is a defense against the possibility of answers. Or say it this way, there is a doubt that's a sign of a closed mind, and there's a doubt that's a sign of an open mind. Here's from a book by Thomas Nagel, who's a professor of law and philosophy at New York University, NYU, in a book called The Last Word. Here's what he says. He says, I want atheism to be true and am made uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent, are we off or do we, oh, it's up there. Okay, cool. Let me start again. I want atheism to be true and am made uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent and well-informed people I know are religious believers. There's an interesting line, okay? There's an interesting line. He says, I want atheism to be true and am made uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent and well-informed people I know are religious believers. It isn't just that I don't believe in God and naturally hope that I'm right in my belief. It's that I hope there is no God. I don't want there to be a God. I don't want the universe to be like that. Again, you can have dishonest and honest doubt. His doubt and his belief in doubt is because he doesn't want there to be a God. And if you go on to read him and some of the new atheists that have written all kinds of books that are popular, if you read them, oftentimes what they're saying is, I don't want there to be a God. I don't want there to be someone who rules the universe because I don't want to be accountable to anyone. Because that's the bottom line. The bottom line is, if there is a creator, every person will give an account to the creator. But sometimes they don't want there to be a God, because if there's not a God, I don't have to be accountable to anyone, and I can do whatever I want to do, and I can believe whatever I want to believe and treat people however I want to be treated. And again, I would read that and I would ask the question, is that honest doubt? No. He's coming from a position, I don't want there to be a God. I don't want there to be answers. I don't want the world to be that way. It's interesting that C.S. Lewis also said something similar in one of his writings. Here's what C.S. Lewis said. He said, I do have moods. This is after he's an atheist and now he's a believer. He says, I do have moods in which the whole thing of Christianity looks very improbable. But when I was an atheist, I had moods in which